sidewalk. He stops walking and squares his cap so that it's flat enough to play chess on.
Here's my stop. Good luck, Jo.
Thanks, but keep some for yourself. He winks, then slips down a narrow alley to use the back door to Buck's bombs. Old Jen tells me things have changed for the worse since I was born. After good old President Hayes returned the South to home rule, Dems told colored people they should use the back alleys from then on. Which pretty much sums up everything. Fluffing the sleeves of my russet dress, which have lost their puff and hang like a pair of deflated lungs, I carry myself a block farther to English's millinery. The shop stands between a candle maker and a seed store, meaning it can smell like a Catholic church or alfalfa, depending on which way the wind blows. This morning, however, the air is still too crisp to hold a scent. The picture windows are as clear as our Lord's eyes, how I left them last night, with several mauve hats displayed. Mauve is having a moment. Instead of going through the front, I also trek to the back entrance. Folks care less about which door Chinese people use nowadays, compared with when the laborers were shipped in to replace the field slaves after the war. Perhaps whites feel the same way about us as they do about ladybugs. A few are fine, but a swarm turns the stomach. 3 boxes have been left by the back door, and I gather them in my arms, then enter. The sight of Lizzie trying on the nearly finished, sensible hat I'd been designing stops me in my tracks. What is she doing here so early? She barely traipses in at 9, when the shop opens, and it's not even 8:15. Good morning. I set the boxes on our work table, which is already weighed down with reams of felt. The broadsides for the charity horse race are barely dry, and orders are already flooding in. Fashion is supposed to rest on Lent, but God will surely make an exception for the event of the year. The proprietress will probably want me to stay late again or work during the lunch hour so she can sneak off to nip her Coca cordial. Well, not without a raise I won't.
Mrs. English wants to speak with you,
Lizzie says in her breathy voice. She smooths a hand down the rooster tail I'd pinned to the sensible hat with an eternity knot. Ringlets of strawberry blonde hair play peekaboo under the saucer brim. I remove my floor-length cloak and black hat, one of the misfits that Mrs. English let me purchase at a discount, this one made possible through Lizzie's clumsy hands. Then I tie on a lace apron. The velvet curtain separating the store from the workroom jerks to one side, and Mrs. English bustles in.
There you are,
she says in her haughty schoolmarm's voice. I dust off my drab shop cap. Good morning, ma'am. I had an idea. What if, instead of wearing these toadstools, we model our latest styles? See how fetching my sensible hat looks on Lizzie? Mrs. English frowns.
Put the toadstools on, both of you.
Yes, ma'am, Lizzie and I say in unison. I slip my cap over my head. I should ask now, before she asks me to stay late, so my request does not appear a hair-trigger reaction. I wipe my palms on my skirt. Mrs. English?
Jo, I will no longer be requiring your services.
I clamp my mouth shut when her words catch up to me. No longer required? I'm dismissed?
I only need one shop girl, and Lizzie will do.
Lizzie draws in a sharp breath. Her normally sleepy eyes open wide enough to catch gnats.
Lizzie, open the packages. I hope the new boater block's in one of them.
Mrs. English wiggles her fingers.
Yes, ma'am.
Drawers clatter as Lizzie rummages for a knife. But I turn my back on Lizzie and lower my pipes to a whisper.
Mrs. English, I trained her. I can felt the block twice as fast as her. I'm never late, and you said I have an eye for color.
I can't lose this job. It took me almost 2 years to find steady work after my last dismissal, and old Jen's meager wage as a groom isn't enough to sustain us both. We'd be back to living hand-to-mouth, tiptoeing on the edges of disaster. A bubble of hysteria works up my chest, but I slowly breathe it out.